All right. Hey, everybody. I just wanted to start off saying this is one of the weirdest things I've ever found out as far as me making sense of something. But when I was looking at it, I was watching a movie and I only watched like the first 2 or 3 minutes of it. And it's called Inception. Of course, some people probably seen it, some people haven't. But when it first came on, I noticed that the guy was starring in a movie. He washed up on the shore of Japan. So I was thinking to myself, okay, well, he must have came from the west to the east. And if he did come from west to east, he actually have to come through time because the whole day changes by the time the time zone goes or the sun goes through, the eastern side. By the time it gets over to the eastern shores of the islands of New Zealand, Japan, Kiribati, all of those areas, the whole day changes. So I was thinking to myself, what if that's a form of like reincarnation? Because I had noticed that there was a story back in the day I read that said we just finished paying off the debts of World War One. They're very close. So I was when I saw that movie, that part in that movie, I just stopped it, and I was thinking to myself about Japan, because see they were combatants in the war, and Japan all the way to the west, that's America. That's saying the whole world basically was at war. So if they're just getting through the process of paying that off, that means that it took over 100 years, as you can see, or at least 100 years to pay off that war. If you look from the timeline down here. So 100 years, what happened was I started doing math on it. I said, okay, 100 years. I'm just scrolling back so you can see. Well, hold up. Since it's not letting me go back, I'm going to have to use bookmarks. Where is it? Oh, yeah, so it's right here. So I was like, okay, how many people are born each year? Now I know these numbers can change, or they have been different probably over, 30, 20 years ago. It could have been different. It could have been maybe a few million less. But what I wound up doing was I said, okay, 131 million. I basically said 132 million times 100. Because it's been 100 years since the war, 102 years since the war, but I did 100. So, this is what I see. It says 13 trillion 200 million. I'm sorry, 13 trillion 200 billion dollars. If you had to turn it into a form of money, that's exactly the amount of debt the nation owns. And I don't know why it keeps going back to Credit Karma. I'm trying to find out where. Hold on. See, it totally deleted. Oh, here we go. So, see, look, the nation's debt is actually $13 trillion. So, what I'm saying is, it makes me think that over the 100 years that this war has taken place, until now, it shows you that the amount of people that are on the planet that have been born yearly times the amount of years since the war has taken place, it actually equals the amount of what the nation's debt is. So it makes me think, I'm like, okay, if you think about reincarnation and stuff like that, for a debt to be paid off, it allows you to proceed. It's sort of like the stories you hear of people going through the river Styx, like in the movie Troy, when they put gold shekels on the eyes of people who die so they can travel through the river Styx. It's like a form of a mythological thing, they say. So it's a debt being paid off. Or like if you see the new movie Gods of War, on that movie it says like when a woman gets to the end of her life, it's a guy sitting on it's a few guys, like it look like they're wrapped in mummy attire, and they ask what does she offer, and they give like offerings and stuff. So debts are a form of offering, because it's something that was offered to you, and you took it with the good intentions of paying it back. So even if it doesn't get paid back, it still was an offering given from one to another. So I was thinking that over 100 years, when you multiply that by the amount of the years for the war times the people that are born every year, even though those numbers could change, it still equals up. Even if you did the actual numbers for now, it still equals up to the amount of the nation's debt. So I'm just thinking to myself, it's just strange that that matched up so evenly and rarely like that. And I wasn't looking at this for 20-30 minutes. As you can see, I was actually literally watching a movie, and then when I was watching that, like I said, it was on the first 2 minutes actually. I was watching that, and then I was like, I wonder something. I just started thinking about stuff, and I was like, for where they showed that movie, he came off the shore, and actually, like I said, the eastern shore. So that was around, Tokyo side, as you can see. And it showed, like, him getting up and everything like that. So I was just thinking to myself, it shows the difference between peace or having time and war. Because if you think about a weapon and time, since no weapon against man shall prosper, no weapon formed against a man shall, or no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Meaning, that weapon didn't prosper, there's still time. So when you look at the time, most of the time we are asleep. I mean, not all the time, but most of the time we're asleep. So the weapon is not being asleep, because there's hold on, let me think. How am I going to explain this? If it's saying no weapon formed against somebody shall prosper, and there's time, so the T comes before a W. That's the one thing I usually do, the alphabetical. It makes it real simple for anybody to understand. If T comes before a W, that means time came before the weapon. But the weapon is after time. And even when you say it like that, it means literally after. Like, if somebody's behind you walking, they're after you. But let's say their name was B and your name is A. They're right behind you saying, A, A, but they're B. So alphabetically, the time is before the weapon. That's how come no weapon against you shall prosper. Because it's not against you. The only weapon that's against you is behind you, meaning it's on your back. So they can only push the weapon on your back, but it can't prosper. So when you think about it, it's like saying, okay, how do you go forward? Not even how do you go forward. That's why you shouldn't go back, put it that way. And check this out. What's the story in Sodom and Gomorrah? They said it was a lady that was walking, and I think she was walking with Lot, and he said, don't look back, because she'll perish or something. But she turned into a pillar of salt. So I could type it in. And I think it was with Lot. I don't remember. Yeah, Lot's wife. And that's what it's about. And it's like saying how she became a pillar of salt when she looked back, because the weapon formed against her prospered, whatever was behind her. So apparently, one knows another, or to know is to see. So if she looked back, what do you think she's seeing? A pillar. Because it wasn't salt, because the P comes before S, right? So guess what? The salt was after the pillar. Just like I said, the weapon is after time. So basically, the salt came after the pillar. So whatever she looked back at must have been a pillar. So you want to see what a pillar looks like? Let's see. What's a pillar look like? I know I'm using and abusing this website right now, but I thank God for it. Hopefully I ain't abusing it too much. So let me see. A pillar. Of course, a pillar would be something that stands. But as you see, matter of fact, let's look at pictures, because they're making it to other things. See, that's a pillar. All right, so she would see a pillar. If she looks back at the pillar, the salt was right behind it. So the salt was behind the pillar. So it must have been they was trying to escape, and she looked back, and the pillar turned her into salt. when she looked back, hold on, let me see. Let me make sure I'm saying that right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so a pillar of salt, because she looked back and basically was in her old ways. Like, she remember how it used to be, even though she still was able to stand. But it was salt. It was saltiness there. It was a form of bitterness, you know. And it's like somebody tell you, like, he's salty towards me, or she's salty about what he did to her. And it causes them to erode. It causes them to become bitter. So when you think about it, I mean, a statue of salt is like saying something that could be remembered as being once beautiful, or not only beautiful, once established with no bitterness, but then realizing how bitter life can be. So what I was saying is, it seems strange because by the time you even start, not to be rude, and hopefully nobody takes it the wrong way, but if you look at the flag of Japan, one of the farthest countries to the right, even though it's not like New Zealand flag or nothing, but the far right, they have the red circle and it's the white. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's a form of blood or a spot or a period, but it makes you think, what if it means that it shows, you know, the form of a point, or where blood starts and then moves to the west and it just becomes diluted. So in our actuality, you know, we all started on the east and moved to the west, migrated to the west. And by the time some of them went further west, the sun was causing them to be exhausted. Like, for example, if the sun rises in the east, you're naturally immune to it because it's right where you are. But when you're like, oh, this sun's hot, let me get away from it. And the more you walk, it keeps getting hotter and hotter. Like the game Mario. If you played Mario, I think it's Mario 3. Back in the day on Nintendo. When you run and the sun keep on chasing you and they do like these little twirls in the sky, then they come under you and you're supposed to jump. So the sun will go under you, then they'll do it again until you get to the little stage where you jump and hit the little square and, you know, you get your little prize or something like that. So that's like traveling from east to west, because east is initially where you start. And then you travel west because E comes before W. See what I'm saying? So the west literally chases the east. So if you think about it, whatever we chase, we actually, from the west, we're actually chasing what's on the east. So usually most things are made in Japan. So that's what they give us. They're like, look, made in Asia or something like that, in Asia area. So that whatever we're chasing is given back to us. So we won't chase them. We'll chase the materials, but then we become materialistic. And that's just as bad as not chasing them, because who's to say we want to chase anybody to hurt them? But see, the United States military is supposed to stand for not hurting people. So it all depends on how you chase somebody. If you can just be in a uniform and don't have to worry about chasing them and stuff, then it kind of makes it easier for them to accept you and accept your beliefs. So right now, it's like that's how that works. But a lot of people have their own ways. A lot of people are crazy. And it's not just a nation, it's individuals. So, and it doesn't even mean craziness is what causes them to be that way. It could just be how things happen. It's not to say it can't be controlled, but that's why you have a pupil. A pupil is something that is in your eye and that stands before you. Or you can say a pupil is a lot, or a lot, which is like something that's there, and a pillar, which is what's created on a lot. So you know how you go to a parking lot and they have like a lamppost? That's a pillar. So the lamppost is the pillar and the parking lot is the foundation. So the wise man built his house upon a rock. So the wise man is the individual, and the house is on the rock. So the house is a pillar and the rock is the foundation. So the house can erode the rock, just like the salt erodes the pillar. You see what I'm saying? And it does. I mean, if you go to Middle Eastern countries or Greece and you see all the erosion, that's from salt or like sand and stuff. So what I'm getting at, long story short, is for us to be able to erode our impurities, it comes through the blood. That's why Jesus cleansed the blood. So the impurities are clean. So if you think about the First World War, that's where the most blood was at, because it was one of the first ones. So when the debt was paid off, it allows those souls to be free. And not saying that that's what's necessary for the souls to be free, but it makes it sound like once the debts are paid off, all of them could come back, like in a spirit, and get back into a woman's womb through the cleanliness of the blood, through the air condensation, through inhaling, a woman inhaling when she keeps breathing in. And this is super crazy. You ever heard the stories of, like, in Japan, how they have like the highest abortion rates or something like that? I'm just, not to be rude, I mean, I don't want this to affect nobody, but I'm just saying. Typing it right quick. See, it's like saying it's like one of the highest, I think, but it's up there. So it's like saying, okay, if they have a higher rate, it's like saying, okay, they don't want all of them to come back, because most of the time when there's a lot of people, babies coming back, it can create a lot more fighting. So who's to say if it's anything to have anything to do with that? But what if it's a form of impurities there? And it's not saying that the babies are dying and they're not coming back. They might still be coming back through the air, because God breathed breath into the nostrils. So it's like saying, after he breathed breath into the nostrils, it ain't just stop. He said, okay, he ain't say, I ain't gonna keep on breathing, because God is, ing is not even something that God is going to say he's doing. The beginning is the beginning. God is continuous. He only had to have an ing attached to it. He's continuous. So continuously comes before ing, because you have to know what's continuous before you can add ing to it. That's like saying you have to know you're a male before you can have a woman attached to you, because then you just be confused. That's like Sodom and Gomorrah. They were confused. They were ing, meaning they were N and they were G. N and G, N and G, N and G. So that's what they were. So they were stuck in each other. See what I'm saying? They are literally stuck in each other, like a man was stuck in a man. So he was in a G. And the woman was looking back like, is he gonna come with me? And as soon as she looked back, she was bitter, because she found out he was with another man and she couldn't deal with it. So she kept looking back, letting her time go by, turning into a pillar of salt. Thinking everybody's gonna look at her like she's all that. Well, at the end of the day, not her, but just that's how women are. And then you're gonna stand there and look at them like she's all that, and they're gonna be always, treated like princesses and stuff. But sometimes they piss dudes off, and dudes do weird stuff like that. I ain't gonna say that is proper, because I don't believe in it. But what I'm saying is, it's something that happens because of the way men feel, I guess, about women. So long story short, it makes you think, like, those could be the impurities or the reasons why, people have abortions. Not saying that they literally gonna say that, but if you think about how the universe is, everything has a form of nature to it, a natural response to things. So it's like a reaction. Just because somebody gay don't mean they can't get an STD. Just because somebody has a mental problem doesn't mean they can't do math. So the thing about it is, it's all about adding up impurities. So a woman's blood clears impurities, but Jesus cleansed the blood. Because remember, the woman that touched his garment, she was immediately cleansed through her faith. But Jesus had cleansed her blood. So the thing about it is, by the time you look at all that in a whole big old circle of what's going on, it's 100 years from the First World War, 102 years. God rest all of their souls. That there's probably some still alive. I don't know, but let me see. Let me go back one more here. But 100 years, and when you think about it, 100 years times the amount of people born every year is not necessarily saying that, like I said, 100 some odd million people were born every year from 1914 until now. But let's say even half of that was. I mean, it still shows that some of them are still at war because they're not separated from themselves. It sounds crazy what I'm saying. Okay, but look at it like this. The world is separate from the war, right? Because you're not at war every day, but you heard of wars. The Bible says in the end times there will be wars and rumors of wars. You know why? Because the spirit of those who are stuck with themselves can't help but talk about it. It's like getting around a whole bunch of people that's bisexual. They ain't gonna be wanting to talk about whatever. They might talk about their own individual topic. Or you get around a whole bunch of people that's straight. They could have a lot more diverse topics because they feel like everybody's different. Their mind is different. Some people don't even want a relationship with nobody. If you are bisexual, you want a relationship with somebody. If you don't have a sexual preference, you don't care. I mean, like, for example, if you're a virgin, which one are you worried about being with? You don't even know yet. You're still a child. But the thing about it is, when you grow, you have preferences. So you talk about one thing. It stays on one thing. It becomes gossip. Or it becomes drama, they call it, stuff like that. So dramatic and gossiping, those two things are preferences. Some people just live in drama and hear gossip. Those are the ones who don't know better. They just live and learn. But all I'm getting at is, when you think about it, those years, those 100 years since that's been 102 years since that taking place until now, it's like saying, okay, this is where the spirits are trapped. If we can just pay this off and clear it, we'll be able to get them out. Some of them might come out and try to get right back in. Because it's sort of like, a mole out the hole. He don't want to stay out the whole time, fish out of the water. They don't want to be out the whole time. They come out because they either pulled out or they're led out. So what happens first? Like they call it in court. They say, well, this person coerced into this act. So I guess that's how you spell it. I don't even know how to spell coerced, but Couresed. Coerced. Yeah, I probably spelled that totally wrong. But let me just go ahead and see. That's move without obstruction of flow. Court. Let's see. Obstruction of flow. I guess that's what it means. I don't know. That could be what it means. That's probably not even how I spelled, but I doubt that's what I'm saying because it's a court reference. You can look it up yourself. But to be coerced is to be basically guided, with no legal intention to do it the way you want to do it, but somebody else making you do it the way they want you to do it. So what I'm saying is, see, the course are to be pulled, or to be led, or to be pulled. So either way, which alphabetically comes first? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, or even led and course are the same thing. So L and C are the same, and then P will come second. So basically, you're either led or you're coursed through your whole life. Your course is your training. Military, we go through what? Obstacle courses. But we're coerced through law because we signed an oath. With what else? Who else? Pull. To be pulled is to also be pushed. So those are people that go to jail. Don't you know how when people get in trouble, they be like, you go to the military, you going to jail. Well, if you go to the military, you're just going to have to go through obstacle courses until they find legal representation for you on your completion of your course, or you can say your completion of your life. But if you go and don't do that, then you're going to be pushed, or actually you're going to be pulled before you're pushed. So when you pull, it's like saying somebody's pushing you when you're pulling something, meaning whatever's behind you is not supposed to be there. Just like when you poop, it comes out, right? It doesn't go in, so it's not supposed to be behind you. So you're actually supposed to be led before anything. Led will be the best thing, because led means you're behind somebody, but you're not. As long as you're not pushing them when you're behind them, that's like when you run the mile in the military. They say 2 miles, I should say. They say don't push, don't carry nobody through the course because they get disqualified. So what I'm saying is that's how real it is. Like, it goes so serious, it's so sad, because it's like when you realize who you push, most of the time you pushing, actually most of the time you're pulling the military, because once you pay your taxes and stuff, the military gets it, and they be like, all right, this is what the first thing we're gonna have a problem with is lead. Who's gonna lead, right? So then all that tax money go first to the officers. And you can call them police officers, you can call them officers, put it that way. I ain't gonna start calling out individual officers, but officers. So the money first goes there, and then that's who leads or led. And then from there, the money goes down to who's on the courses, meaning the sergeants. When you go to, anybody that's been in the military, when you go to a firing range, what they call it, a course. You go to training camps called courses, obstacle courses, combat courses, all that stuff. So you're going to courses, but the people that ain't in courses, when you're at course, they're being pushed. Literally, what they tell you to do when you get on the ground, when you do push-ups, they say push. You push so they can pull, because as soon as you push on the ground, they have to pull for you, meaning because you become stronger. See, they're like, yeah, we're going to have to pull for this guy because, you know, he might make it. As long as he don't go and do nothing that we can't pay for. See, because pay comes after, hold up, push, pull. No, because pay comes first. So it's like saying, as long as he does something, we'll pay for it. So they take responsibility for the military by paying for it through their taxes. And then after they pay for it, it gives them the ability to pull through. You know, it gives them a form of hope, because they don't want to look like cowards. They don't want to look like they just sitting on their butts all day. So they pay for stuff so it can show their work or their efforts. So then after they pay, it's like saying, who's pushed? That's what they'll ask. They say, okay, we pay. Now who's pushed? So they'll go back and say, okay, this person pushed, this person pushed. Now, let him pull, meaning let him go forward. Because, see, when you pushing, you can't really go forward as much as when you can pull. Does that make sense? I hope. So, when you, once they pay, then you pull. Meaning, you get whatever they paid for and you just pull it, like by a rope. Or not even a rope. It don't even have to be a rope, because that's a sound like, it take me back to something I don't want to think about, but slavery and all that other stuff. People that's died, anybody that's died with any kind of weapons, ropes and all, that's sad. And God rest their soul too, save their spirit, please, soul and spirit, body, all that. But anyway, I ain't trying to be rude when I say this, but so it's pay, then it's pull, then it's push. All right, alphabetically. So what I'm saying is, so let's say this is the debt, right? This is the pay right here too. So the pay came through all the people that's paid, had money. And before the pay was what? The lead, L. So they were led to pay this money. For what? For the course. But were they coerced to pay this money? That's when you have to find out who led. So since you don't want to judge nobody, because only God can judge, you can't judge who led. That's what I only want to say which officers. Everybody knows what officers are. You know, basically, they're highest ranking, in some of the highest ranking in the military. So anyway, so that's who led. Sergeants lead too, but they lead by pulling. So it's like the officers, they lead with lead, you know, like pencils, lead pencils. What they do, what officers do all the time. Even the officers in the street, what they do, write you tickets, but they use ink now instead of lead. So now when they use ink, they're like, oh, this is for real. This ain't no more lead. We ain't leading you, we inking you. Basically, we incubating. Like, it's like saying they putting you in and they baiting you in. They fishing you out. They're like, oh yeah. See, now it's going to get real, because check this out, man. Let me say it like this. This is super crazy when I think about it. People get a lot of tattoos on their body. That's their ink, right? So if they have ink, it's a form of abation. And I know that's not even spelled right because it's not even the same thing. But it's a Bation, or you could say probation or prohibition. All those, not even the first letters. I'm talking about the ending letters. The ions, the ions, the intel with ends at the end. When something ends from knowledge. So it's like the Bible says, those shall perish from lack of knowledge. So the lack comes before the lead, because it's LACK, lack comes before, lack comes before the lead. So you lack lead because you don't have it in your body. It's not even good for you. So, and you lack with leadership, right? Because you have to have a certain amount of people, like not too many chiefs, enough Indians. So what I'm saying is, if you're lacking it, it's something that's behind you. So when you lack leadership, and I hear that comment a lot in the military. They say this unit lacks leadership. But the thing about it is, when you lack something, it's like saying lack. The Bible says lack, those are passed from lack of knowledge. But you lack what's not being led. So the lack is in front. Like they say, ride smooth like a Cadillac. So the lack is in front. Or the caddy is the course. The C is the course. So what happens is, when the course is in front of you, so you just have to get through it. Once you get through it, they see what you lack. Once they see what you lack, they'll see who led you to your capability of your, I guess you can say, your lack, or your lag, I should say. It's hard to explain that part, but when they see where you're getting, like the Olympics, they see how far you can get. They see that you lack a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And then they see who led you. They be like, okay, this man did this all his life. He ate this all his life. This is what led him. This is the person who led him there, his trainer and stuff like that. And then they say, okay, after they see where you're led, then they see what's next, which was, what did I say? Because I'm doing this off top. Let's say I'm not rehearsing nothing. So I'm just explaining how real it is. Once they see what was led, then they'll go and say, okay, this is what's after that. And I forgot what I said at first, man. That's whack. So anyway, basically, by the time you realize how you were led, then you'll see where you're going. So all I'm saying is, lead affects the bloodstream. So you're not supposed to have lead in your body. So that's why I was saying things are cleansed. Like I said, officers used lead back in the day where they used pencils when they couldn't write with ink. But now that they're using ink, they expect us to be led by somebody who uses a pencil. So it just means the more ink they use, they younger. I mean, they cause the youth to lead more. They rather have younger people lead more than older people, because ink comes before lead. So when they write in ink, they expect the young people to lead. So the people that are more youthful, that can erase things, you know what I'm saying? Because once you're old, you can't erase as fast as when you're young. Literally, if you gave an old person an ink pen, just an old person a pencil and a young person a pencil, and told them to write their name, write high and then erase high, who you think gonna erase it faster? A young person. So it's sort of like saying, give the young people pencils and give the old people pens. Once they mess up, it's in ink, they can't change it. Once the young person mess up, they just have to figure out how to get the ink off. So that's how all that works. But what I was saying is, when it says that the debts are being paid off and stuff like that, I'm going to just type it in right quick, because I think it might even say it on here. World War I. Debts. I'm going to type it in right here. Look. Let me see. There you go. Now I don't want to keep saying it's crazy, but this is one of them. And it says that's why the Queen probably pulled out. Because look, UK, quote, I can say quote, I guess, UK finally repays its first war's debt. Now, yeah, look, government to pay off World War One debt. Yo, that's freaking crazy, yo. So if they just paid it off, what I'm saying is that means it's only World War Two debt. That's the next one. So look, even say right here, 100 years, they just paid it off. But yo, guess how many people they have? That's what I was saying. When you be like, okay, 100 years times how many people were born on the earth each time. So it's like 131 million. But by the time you times it, that's $13 trillion. And that's why I said the nation's debt. Daggone what I just typed in. Oops. Oh, I put the wrong thing in. Okay. Man, what the heck? Hold on. Alright, here we go. It's 13 trillion. So what I'm saying is it's so strange because all that stuff matches up. And all I'm saying is by the time I'm trying to help and record all this the best I can, it makes me think that maybe those souls are just reincarnating and then they come back to America because they settle in the West. It's like, where else could they settle? Okay, the sun rises in the east. By the time you look at where the sun rises, you know it's going to settle on the opposite end. So what happens when you have debt? They have settlements, right? So, man, come on, thing. Let me see somebody quick. I'm just leaving it on the map because it's frustrating trying to keep up with all this moving around. So anyway, by the time something comes from the Far East, you can see that by the time it settles in the West. So, but it crosses over a body of water. So the Bible says God separated the heavens and earth, and the day and night. It also says He separated the waters with the firmament. So each side that has water, and His face was on the waters of the deep. I can't recall exactly how I said, but if it's overseeing the waters of the deep, when He said, "Let there be light," the light had to see beyond water. So it'll be more like air, light, water. So it'll be like air will be energy. Light is energy too, but light is more solid than water. The only reason I'm saying that is because I know that doesn't sound right at all, because anybody will be like, oh, light is energy. And they're going, at this point, they're going to cut the video. I said, man, that dude's stupid. But they didn't just catch everything else I said. Air will be a form of energy, because in order for you to see light, what you going to need? You're going to have to breathe. How many people you know that's not breathing right now that can see light? So think about it like that. So start there and say like energy. And then light would be matter, because it's a solid thing, but you can't balance it. You can only reflect it. But in order to see, you have to have a reflection. So light is matter, because it reflects off of you. Like God's face looks off the water, meaning the energy. So it's like you can't see Him because you can't see the energy. You can't see air. See what I'm saying? Now you see what I'm saying. Energy is like air. You can't really see it. So when you look at light, you can see light. So light is like matter. And then the water would be like visible. So it's like saying when His face is on the water of the deep, His face is light on the water. So when you see, not trying to say I know what it looked like, and I know the Bible said don't make any graven images and all that. So I'm not even going to try and say that's what God's face looked like. So that's one of the 10 Commandments. But what I'm saying is, when you think about water and what's ever over it, when you see what's over it, just know that what's in between it is light. So you can't take that away. You know that it's there. So long story short, if all those spirits and souls that passed on from the war and all the people that have been born on this planet probably were in wars, because the Bible even says that God appoints kings over the people when He's frustrated with or mad with Israel. he appoints kings over the people that leads them to war. So if you think about it, and you look at the wars that I just mentioned, like World War I, if there's a king involved anywhere, that king is like overseeing that war. And what happens is, by the time the king oversees it, then all those spirits or souls have to go somewhere. But I was just saying, over 100 years, they actually equal up to the amount of debt that is actually owned by the nation to the far west, the settlement. What do they call? I'm gonna see what, like, it's called U.S. settlements. Look, I want to see what this says. So, no stuffed up. All right, so, so let's see. Just want to see if I can find anything on it. No, man, I ain't gonna try and do all that right now. Cause I don't even think that's Cause anyway, y'all can figure that all out. Y'all remember the settlements, the colonies, or you could type in settlements 1776 or something like that, just to get a gist of it. Let me see. Oops. All right, settlements. Let's see. Anyway, I can't find nothing right now. So anyway, what I'm saying is, if you go from east to west, the sun settles with light, meaning the light comes from the sun down. So that's a form of a settlement. It's a solid substance that settles on whatever surface it lands. So the settlement is the crops, or you can say the grass or the soil. Not the soil, but the plants. That's a settlement. So from east to west, it's settled. So whatever stems from the plant is the life. Or you can say, because it'll be like this. It'll be like air comes down. Air doesn't settle. You never heard of settling air, have you? See what I'm saying? So air doesn't settle. Light settles, and then water settles. So what happens is, it'll be like to the far east, the air can't settle. That's how come they use probably so much radiation to try to settle the air to make it radioactive. And then the middle, it's hold up, what did I say? The air, oh yeah, the light. So the middle, they use light, but the light is classified as gold. It's a solid matter that reflects the color of the sun, and it's settled in the soil. So they use a lot of air, or they create a king or a queen who is the heir to a throne. So up north is their heirs from their seat, and then they're beneath the seat. So they are losing heir in Africa and in Middle East and in Jerusalem and in Egypt, Israel, all of them. So since God appointed a king over them to lose their heir, he wanted to see how much heir they would have, because God breathes breath in the nostrils of man, but who's to say how much breath is breathed in there? See what I'm saying? That's their life. So that's why when you sit back and then look at America and all of Canada and all that, and Brazil and all that, all those areas, what happens is those areas have water. So it's like, that's where the settlement is, the settlement. So it's like, as long as you can come out here, you're born here, that means you made it. But once you come out of the water and you have to go and do the king's job overseas, that means you're being deceived. Like it said in the Bible, many will be deceived, and many will perish for lack of knowledge. So the knowledge starts, deceivement comes from the far east, because you start off, what's D? What comes first, D or K? Deceivement, then knowledge. See what I'm saying? So deceitfulness comes from the far east, and then knowledge, which we have lack of, which comes from where? Israel, Jerusalem, Europe, Africa. We don't know a lot about these places, but Jesus was sent so we can learn. So that's what the knowledge is. So it's HIJK, and then the life is where? Where does everybody say we want to live at? I want to live in the West. They have so much fun. It's all fun over there, but that's the life. So it's like saying the deceitfulness to the far east, I forgot how I said it already. Oh, the knowledge in the middle, and the life on the west. So what they call it? So be life water, right? Which is where? In the United States of America. What's in the middle? Knowledge of what? Good and evil. Who's supposed to be good? The Europeans. And who's supposed to be evil? The Africans. And if they ain't supposed to be evil, I mean, they cut each other's stuff up when they born, but the Europeans do it too, and Americans. Other countries do it. But yo, they cut out the things of the women. Their private thing, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, to the eyes of whoever else is seeing that, they look at that as being evil. So it's the knowledge of good and evil is the middle. And then deceive, meaning to be deceived or dishonored, is the far east. So they're the ones who feel dishonored. Like if they see you go out and sleep with a different race, it damages their genetic gene pool. That's how come there's more Asians on the planet than there are any other race, because they don't want to be deceived or dishonored. So deceive and dishonorment comes from the east. Knowledge of good and evil comes from the middle, and the life and the water comes from the west. So, or you can say the life and the walk, meaning as long as we're alive, we all walk the same. We can all drink water. We can all have nourishment. Over there, it's like saying, in the middle, it's like saying, good and evil. As long as you don't do evil, we'll do good by you. To the far east, it's like as long as you don't dishonor our families, like in India, they're very situated tight with the marrying in the family. They'll honor that. They'll fund that. They'll keep it strong. China the same way. See what I'm saying now? So that's kind of cool how it blends up like that. So something to think about, man. I guess I've been talking long enough, but it's kind of cool because it makes you think that maybe all these spirits from the east to the west and souls can be revived because the debt has been paid off through the good. Meaning, they said the UK, right? Look, the good, man, this thing keep doing it. Like, I don't know why it skips right over what I just looked at. Hold on, man. I just had it up here. Okay, here we go. Alright, so yeah, so the UK would be showing more good because they paid off debts. So if they help pay off debts for World War I, then how is World War II going to get paid off? Or by World War I being paid off, maybe World War II is paid off by that's weird. I wonder how that would work. Let me see. I ain't gonna it says who for I'm gonna just click on this right quick because I want to see if there's anything. I'm just reading some. Well, that's good. Like I said, World War I. I knew I heard about that. I don't know how long ago was this. Let me see, because I remember hearing about it. That's in 2015, so I'm kind of late talking about it. But so let's see. Reading. Well, as you can see, the debt has went farther, stayed on the east, so they're not putting the debt on America. So apparently, the Americans would have to fight in order to pay the debt. So the UK basically did the first fight. That was a financial fight. And then the Americans have to do the next fight, which is what we just did. That'll pay off World War II. Now, who will be fighting starting World War III? If there was one. The World War III could only be started by none other than the West Coast. Because, like I said, it even goes back to that movie I was watching. when he came on the east coast of Japan and the tsunami happened over there, it's like, why would you go and attack Japan? They have a lot of stuff going on. So they come in peace, but the war is in your dreams. The war is in your mind. That's the only way the next world war can start. It'll have to be a mental imbalance. Like, you have to literally just go crazy on your own. So what they're doing is they're actually trying to say people are crazy, put you in the hospital, intentionally hurt black people. Well, if you see most police in the United States, they're doing it. Matter of fact, watch this. I'm going to type in black crimes happen most where. I'm going to do crimes in general. I ain't talking about white people, Hispanics, nothing. Watch this. Where do most black crimes happen? The east or the west? Watch. And then you can see where it come from. I don't even know yet. Black crimes, east or west, mostly. It's abbreviated. I know it's kind of challenging for them. But I could do images. And let's see. Let's see if they show east or west. I'll just use this one. Because if any instance, remember that the only reason I'm doing this way is not involving cops, it's involving humans. See what I'm saying? From the west to the east. Which side is worse? The reason I'm doing that is because it makes you think, like, overall that spirit is over there in general. It's settled over there. So is it worse there or over here? So for these 2 years, that's far west. Milwaukee, I think that's Wisconsin or something like that. And then Baltimore, Washington. So I want to see it on the map because all this stuff could be totally different. New York, Los Angeles. Okay. So yeah, it's kind of blended. It's kind of matched. New York has, this is the population. Okay, never mind. But yeah, it looks like Los Angeles is number 2. Oh, by population. That's not it. See, it ain't even adding up right, because population says 8-something million. Then it says it's 115, but Los Angeles has 190, so their statistics should be higher. So I don't know how they're number 2. And then overall, as you see, 190 and 238, those numbers are higher. So that shows West Coast will actually have higher rates, even if it's involving police, because police murder too. So if you think about it, overall, the West is having a higher murder rate than the East. So what that tells you is the only way they can attack the East, they'll have to attack the east of Japan in order to start a world war. But since there's more people, hold on, this ain't gonna sound right. I don't like using other people's charts because this stuff, it start messing up everything I'm saying. So, all right, let's see. Black crimes. I put black crimes. I'm put crimes in general. I could put on. Alright, still don't show no pictures of it. Not saying I want to see pictures, but I was trying to find out from east to west which ones would be the highest. That's weird. Richmond, Virginia. I remember when I heard about that when I was younger. That's where I lived. But yeah, New Orleans. That's not the west. DC. That's east. All these are east. So that much. I just leave it like that and just say the east has the highest amount, but the west possibly has the highest with officers. Because the east, that means the east would be a sergeant. Well, no, that couldn't be right, because then the officers would be first. Officers, then the east. So basically, the officers probably kill more in the east, and the sergeants kill more in the west. So the World War III had to be led by a sergeant because it had to be from west to east. So the sergeants would have to be the ones who haven't went to school You know, and if they, I mean, because officers are supposed to go to school so they can get that rank. So it had to be led by low education and stuff like that. So the Third World War would actually coincide with foreign countries that have poor schooling. Because once you graduate high school, I mean, you've been in school. Or once you get a GED, you graduated. You know, you have your degree. So it'll be from the West, where those who don't have degrees will be attacking World War III. It would be, attacking somewhere on the West. So somewhere from that angle, it'll be like West attacking the East. So it can independently be, like the West attacking the East as in a national war, or it can be the West attacking the East as in a world war. So you get what I'm saying? Like nation war would be martial law. That means like the West Coast fighting the East Coast. That's martial law because that's a state war. But if it's like the West Coast attacking Japan or Asia, that's a national war. So now you can say a world war. Let's start another world war. So the only way that could happen, like I said, is if it's a form of somebody who's not in school or any form of educational program that's actually attacking the West Coast. All right, that's what I say. I'm sorry. They're attacking from the West Coast to the East Coast. So since the UK has paid off the World War I, that means they helped the proceeds to the West, meaning they helped pay it off. So now the West is responsible for paying off World War II. And you can say that, the West, since they did their fight, that's helping pay off World War II. And the East, Far East, Japan, Asia, they're doing all the math to physically pay it off. So what happens is, since that war was completed, that really helped because it helped pays off World War II. So as long as we can keep peace for 7 years after the war, and I would think, I want to see what's going on with the war now. From the year time. Or should I say, daggone it. Hold on, this thing. I want to see when it ended. Start date. Alright, so you can say, 2011, I thought so. So add up 7 years to that and say, as long as we can stay peaceful until 2018, World War III won't happen when we're here. It'll happen to those who didn't remain peaceful. Because you can see it's like a 7-year span, 8-year span in it. So it's kind of like, outside of that. So it's like the First World War, the Second World War. This isn't classified as a Third World War. And if it is, then it's a Third World War to pay off the Second. So then once the Second's paid off, that's the only way the Third can start back up. Literally, like if you want to do it like in an order, like back to front, it's like the First World War, the Second World War. No Third World War, pay off the first. You pay off the first, and then the current war pays off the second. And by the time it pays off the second, then it can start a third. So who would start the third? If the first one, see, that's when you have to know your history. Like, how did these wars start? The first one and all that's something totally different. But I'm just thinking that since they just started to pay it off 2015, that shows what it took. It took another war, like the Iraq War, to just get everything started to where it can be paid off. So all I'm saying is now they're about to probably start paying on the Second World War. And since we're not currently in war right now, then you could say from 2011, say give it like 7 years, and those 7 years of peace will start rebuilding the infrastructure, the finances, and the economy, help paying down the nation's debt, lower taxes and stuff like that. And then when you think about it, that money will start paying back the war. So that's World War II getting paid off. And then think from like 100 years from World War II. Hold on, when did World War II happen? That's a good question. I know I'm talking a lot, but I just want to see. World War II That's 100 years from 1939. So that'll be, let's say, and it still is 2 years, because remember the other one was 1914, and that was paid off in 2016, 2015. So you could say, let's say 100, let's say 2040, the Second World War be paid off. And by that being a reason for me to think, okay, if it's paid off by that time, then that's when the king will resign. So it's sort of like, what's the queen doing? The queen just resigned, right? Not really resigned, but she stepped down. So then the king will probably have like a reign of from now to 2040. So that's what? That's how many years? 2016 to 2040. I'm going to do the math because I don't want to mess up what I'm trying to say. And I want y'all to see what I'm saying, because I know y'all probably like, this dude give me a headache. 2016 minus 2040. 24 years. So if there's a 24-year span for the king to currently be in there, or let's say the queen says she's going to make Prince William the king. So look how old Prince William is. I don't know. I wonder what they was. That said something else. Okay. All right. So he is, let's see, 34. So I said 24 years. So I'm not sure when they said that it might change over. But I just wanted to see what it says. Let's see. All right. Oops. All right. I thought they had stated that. Oh yeah, go right here. It says it that he could be the next king of England. So, if that's the case, then it would be like saying, when would that happen? So let me just see if it has anything on here that says when it happened. All right, so I'm not going to talk about that. So I'll just leave it at that. And I don't want to think of what happened. As long as they're healthy and successful, that's good. So let me keep on rolling. So anyway, all right, let's see. What was that? Okay, so 2040. So that's 24 years. So 24 years, then the Second World War will be paid off. By the time the second one's paid off, then the king can resign. So 33 plus 24. That's what? 33 plus 24. That's like 57. So he'll be able to resign at 57. So how old is oh, that's weird, 'cause I thought he just said, I mean, not he, I'm tripping. I don't know why I said he, but I thought that it said Prince Henry was 67. Just want to find out. Let me see. Sometimes this stuff could be so stressful, too much stuff to read. All right, let's see. Yeah, 67. Prince Charles. I'm sorry. I don't know where I get Prince Henry from. So 67. So look, check this out. 24 plus 33, that's 57. And Prince Charles is 67. So 24 plus 67, that'll be 91. Right? So 91 is how old the queen is about to be. 91. See what I'm saying? So you add 24 for the years, the amount of what it takes to pay off the war, plus Prince Charles. So since she's not 91 yet, it's like saying, how can they make him king if she's not even the age of how long it would take for the war to get paid off? That sounds crazy, but it's like saying, okay, watch. It's like saying, okay, so that 24 years was 2016, the current time, minus 2040, which is 100 years after World War II. So you say 24 plus 67, that's 91. See what I'm saying? So the queen isn't 91 yet. So it's like saying, how can she make him a king as of right now if we have 24 more years to go to pay off the war? They haven't balanced the finances from the physical life of what people have lived. So it's like they're using the actual life force of the queen to say it's a validation for paying off the war, because the royalty balances the way things are paid, and the church balances the belief system. So it's all about time. So the queen has the weapon and the church has the time, if that makes sense. Because the church is like a body, but you can't see it. They call the church a body of Christ. Well, I think they call it, we live in the body of Christ, but we go in the church, and the church is how it all blends together. So church is time, and the royalty are the weapons, because what happens? God appoints a king over us to send us to war. So how the king gonna send us somewhere if he don't know what a weapon is? He has to know. He don't know. Of course, the king don't know what time is, because he don't know how much time he have. So what makes it so frustrating is you can't measure time past your elder, if that makes sense. So since the elder is 90, but it takes 24 years to pay off the next world war, it has one more year to go. Not saying it as an individual, I'm saying it as in time, because time is, and we are what is a part of it. See what I'm saying? We are a part of it, meaning time. If you take me and then turn T-I backwards, it's it. So me as the individual is in time, or it, which is what? A royal lineage. We all have royal. Like that song, it says royal, some royal, something. I don't know how that song go. Now we have problems. I think that song said too. That's a Taylor Swift song. So she's expressing that we're all royalty, or we have a form of royalty. But it's not royalty, it's actually loyalty, because the L comes before the R. So as long as you're loyal to something for an amount of time, they can say that that's a part of your royalty. It's sort of like an inheritance. Like you work at a job for a certain amount of years, they guarantee you something. That's a part of your royalties. Like, music artists get when they make songs and stuff like that. So, I don't know what else to say, man. That's pretty cool, like how that matched up. Like I said, 100 years plus the First World War, which is 19... tag on it. I'm messing up already. 1914. Yeah, 1914. That's 100 years. Then that one's just paid off. And then the next one, if it takes the same thing, that's 1939. Starting off that one. Yeah. So that is what? 1939 plus 2016, not minus 2016. I just did that. I'm going to do it again. 2016 minus 1939. So that's 77 years. I don't know how I did the first time, but y'all know what I did. To where I said 100 years. I think it's minus 100. Yeah, 77 minus 100. There you go. 24 years. So you add 24 years plus 67 of Prince Charles, and it makes it 91. But if you say 23 plus 67 is 90. So he does have the eligibility, but then you have to go off the months. So that's how come the queen still in power, because she measures the months. Women measure months. Men measure years. So, and the women measure months because of their period, and the men measure years because of their time. So that's why I said the woman has a weapon. Because what happens when a man's hit with a weapon? He can bleed, and you know, when a man has time, he has more than a month. That's longer than a month. It's a year, because a year defines time more than a month does. So I'll just go ahead with that, and hopefully it makes sense. And I don't know what else to say, but I should keep on just talking until y'all get tired of listening and just cut the video off, because I can do stuff like that sometimes. Just out of fun. So let's see. Let me see if anything else I can figure out while I'm up being bored and single. So, since the combatants in the Second World War were these countries, as you can see, these are the ones who actually helped pay back the war. Because that's why I think that America went and fought over in Iraq and Afghanistan. Not saying that's the only reason, but it helps pay back things. Not saying it helps to fight, but it helps in its own way. So they're all combatants all over the place, the whole war. So when they go and fight other places, whoever's fighting the most wars are the ones who paying back the most. So as you can see, how often do you hear about other countries like these countries fighting wars? I mean, so by us being the Commonwealth on the East Coast, like I said earlier, that's a form of paying back, but being protected at the same time. So as long as we can clear that, we able to clear this war we just cleared in 2011, you can say it was an 8-year war, so it has 7 years to clear. So once it clears in 7 years, this is biblical because it says over 7 years, once debts can be cleared, not only debts, but just a lot of other things are cleared in 7 years. You know, it says if you want to stay a slave, then you stay in and they can keep you. Or if you want to leave, you can leave and stuff like that. So there's a whole bunch of theories that come with it. But it's not saying it's a bad thing, because as long as you're protected and sealed through the blood of Christ, you don't have to worry about where you're at. It doesn't even matter. So what I'm getting at is, by the time you look at the United States, we helped clear the Second World War. All these places, everybody helped clear it. Forget all that us stuff. So by it being cleared, what I'm saying is the Third World War can only be started by whoever started the first one. So since things come from the East, that's what the Bible says, the beast from the East. So you just have to look at who is in it both times. And I've heard stories about, from what I read on here, that Japan was partners with Italy. And then I think they turned away from Italy or something like that, and they didn't stay with them no more. And then Japan was looked like an enemy or something like that. So I guess they have constant forms of, you know, stress floating around because of those situations that happened in the past. But not saying anybody should judge them, you know, but just things that happened in the past. So 100, and so like I said, by the time you get to the 100 years, that's 2039. So that's about 13 years. I mean, not 13 years, 23 years from now. So 23 years from now, or not even from now, because it's not September 1st yet. So actually it is 24 years. So that's why I was saying it's a month. It's about a month. If it's not a month, it's a few days. It's about 10 days. So basically 10, 11 days plus 24, or you can say 24 years and 10 days. So once you get past the 12th day, it's like 23 years and like 11 months and like 30 days or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, since we still have 24 years, it's like saying, you know, whichever king is to come in play could possibly come in play on September the 1st. And if that king comes into place on September the 1st, what happens is it gives that person 24 years, or you can say from that date, 23 years, 364 days of power. And with that amount of time, that's the person that would control all this stuff that can start a third world war. But the only reason he would start it is for his own personal gain. Like it says, what shall a man gain if he gain the world but lose his soul? That's the only way it could happen. He would lose his soul because he's starting the third world war for his own personal gain. But since it's like World War II is already starting to be paid off from the wars that took place with the Americans and all other countries that's fought. The first World War is paid off. The second one is now starting to be paid off. And then the personal debts are going to start to get paid off starting probably September of this year. And then what happens is if, because look, it even ended, look, the period started September 1st, ended September 2nd. So it shows that that September is very weird. Like, I mean, as serious as the war is, how you going to look saying, oh, September again? Yes, stop. I mean, even way back then, well, it could have stopped any other day, but the day after September 1st, it makes you think. And then ours started September 11th. So that month of September is very touchy. So what I would say is if you hear about a new king starting in September, then that's right when you had to worry about a World War III starting. Meaning that man is only king because his personal debts. His debt to society, maybe because he didn't go to war. You know, he actually wore a uniform with no intentions to go into war, but he may have walked around with them and stuff and did all that. It's similar, like, you know, I guess how people back in the day judged Jesus. Like, they looked at him like, yeah, he's here, he can do all this stuff, but he's not suffering like us. You know, they just looked at him for what he could do as a bad thing, you know, not a good thing. But now since Jesus shed his blood, it's like saying, hey, if anybody wants the king to shed his blood, that's an evil person, because he's a person too. He's just trying to fulfill his royal lineage. He's not trying to take an action and say, let's just start killing people because I don't care. I mean, that's not what's going on. But what happens is by the time it gets to the third one, you have to say, well, what is this all about? Why everybody keep talking about it then? Why is it in the Bible? How are you supposed to figure it out? But it says no man know the day nor the hour when the Lord should come. But if you think about it, why do they call royalty my Lord then? See what I'm saying? So if you see that somebody that can classify that person as a Lord, but still say they don't know the day nor the hour, remember I said time comes before the weapon. So it comes from the East. So if the East, what are they real good at in Asia? Math, measuring time. So they might not know where the time comes from, but if they try to measure the time when the Lord might come, then that's when the war will start, because it'll be like as soon as you start managing time, that person's being paid salary, meaning they're being paid before we can get money to pay them. So if you want to see what that means, that might sound like something stupid, but check this out. I ain't trying to put nobody down in overseas in Asia, Japan, or nothing. But check this out. I'm going to show you the Japanese yen versus the Great British Pound. Since we talking about kings and stuff like that, there you go right here. Look at this. As soon as the queen had pulled out. Okay, let me move this and put this right here. Look, it's a monthly chart. Look at the yen. That John straight dropped it. So what I'm saying is they started getting paid salary August 1st, 2015. And as you see, we're in August, a whole year, the yen has been dominating the markets. And look how quick that drop is. So you can say that drop is about, let's see, I'm going to do the point. So it's from, let's say 200, underneath 200. That's like 195 all the way down to 130. So after the decimal, it's that's hundreds. So then the next one is thousands. So it dropped 6,500 points from August. In 1 year, it dropped 6,500 points. Now look at this. Start from back here. How many points is this one? This is when we had a recession. 2050. It's actually 2051. I think I remember because it's like 2051.30 or something like that. From when I look, it's around that price. So let's say 2051 all the way down to 195 again. Or you can say 2050 to 195. That's 10,000 points. So this one sold how many points? 190 to 130. That's 6,000. 500 points. This one sold 250 to 195. That's 10,000 points. So the depression was worse. The depression's fall was worse than this current fall, I should say. Cause let me see. Making sure. 6, cause all right, where at the bottom where it says, to the bottom right where it says 130816. All right, the first number is 1 point. The second number is tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s. So 13 to 20, that's about 7,000. So you might as well say like 7,000 points, but it's really like 6,000 and some change. But say 7,000 points compared to the depression. As you see, the depression the first part of it went from downward, then back up, then it just sold real bad. So, I mean, that's the depression. This right here is actually paying back the war. Because as you see, they giving all the money to the yen. That's what's pushing the market down. The UK gives all their money away to the yen. Or you can say the poorest people. But they're not even actually the poorest people. The reason I'm saying that, let me stick with this before I show you why they're not the poorest. Check this out. Okay, so they give all their money back, then it sells. So they just now paid it back. It took a depression of the United States to pay it back. Now they're going to pay back World War II. But since we already showed our bailout, as you see in 2013, right in the middle of this chart, it bought up real good. That shows that we have enough to pay back World War II. So that's where this is starting. That's where all this selling coming from right now, paying back World War II. Because remember, I said what happened, World War I was paid off back in 2015 something, right? Look at the bottom of the chart, it says 1/1/2015. It was paid back right around the time before it started selling again. So that big sell from back then helped pay it off. Then it went up, now it's selling back down. That's to pay off World War II. All right, to help pay that off. So the reason I was saying Japan isn't the poorest country, but it has a lot of influence on starting things from the east. If you want to find out which country is farthest to the east other than Japan, just look at their numbers. See that gold? Or just look at silver, 1939. So if it's a number lower than that, that means that currency is weaker. See, that one's stronger. The yen is stronger. I mean, the Chinese yuan is stronger. And then, let's see, Brazil. See, that currency is stronger than the yuan. Mexico. See, theirs is stronger than the yen. Hong Kong. See what I'm saying? Now, there's the Russian ruble is stronger than the yen. But there's one on here, I think, that's weaker. Because, let me see, silver. Yeah, let me see, India, that's what it is. No, it ain't India either. Hold up. Yeah, okay, so the yen actually has the weakest currency. So when it collapses the other currencies, that shows you that those currencies are giving it all to the yen. Or you can say giving it all to the east. Or you can say when their currencies collapsing, they're giving it all away. Which is a good thing, because when Jesus of Nazareth was walking around, when he saw the rich man, or the rich man saw him, and he said, "How can I be with you? How can I follow you?" And Jesus said, "Give away all your riches." And the rich man didn't really know how to do that, or if he didn't know how, he didn't really feel like it. So that's what led that situation right there. So with the yen, or Japan, they have to give away all their riches. So what would their riches be? If it went all the way back to them, by the time it went all the way back to them, what would their riches be? Their riches would be their most valuable thing. So as you see, their most valuable thing would be what they outweigh the most, or what outweighs them the most, or what they can outweigh. So their currency is not as valuable as gold. So you just have to look for the weakest one. So they give away their gold as their males. They call them kamikazes. See what I'm saying? They do the ultimate sacrifice, they say. Those males give themselves away, literally, and anything can happen to them. You know, they have a form of giving themselves away so it can be replenished. So when you hear about stories about them aborting kids, the women know their kids. Like they say, a woman knows their child from birth. So if they abort them, it's sort of like I said, they try to clean out that genealogy of war. They want that time. They want more time than they want. What was that I said? Oh, the weapons. They don't want that many weapons. They want time. So a time would be a woman. A woman wants another woman to relate to. So, because she knows she's not going to hurt that person. She's not going to hurt anybody as bad. Even the numbers are less. As you see, silver is represented to a woman. Because gold comes before silver, right? So, it's like they want more women than they want men. But they make the Japanese abort. If they have too many women, they abort the women more than the men. See what I'm saying? So, check this out. Look, I ain't saying like it's funny neither. Because I've had situations with my ex-girlfriends. They had them, and I ain't feel like it was the greatest thing in the world. But I know I had my part where I should have supported them more. But bad things happen, and I pray that their souls are still saved, that they can make it on with their life. So, women, abortions. Hold up. Japan, I'm trying to figure out the best way to word this. Japan, abortions. Oh, I can't. I'm getting so sleepy. RTION on woman. I guess girls more than boys. Whatever. I know I can't spell right now. Selective service abortion. See? And it says based on the sex, abortion of females is more common. 115 boys per girls. As it says, birth ratio of boys for girls. So it's like saying selection. So they be choosing the boys to have boys more than they do girls. So what I'm trying to get at. See, it says it's not that. It says like if you say a quote, or now it says quote. It's not that women want more boys. They have less chance. And I guess unquote, because there's probably more things other than that. But y'all can read about that. But anyway, even if they're just choosing, there's still a principle of it. By them choosing, by the time it goes over there, they'll rather have the kamikazes over there than, the woman doing it. But the women are actually doing it because they're killing their seed before it comes out. So it's like preventing a man from committing, or a woman from committing suicide. Really, men, I guess, from committing suicide. And then the man, or the fetus that dies, it just comes back in the air, and then it gets in the blood, and it clots or coagulates, I guess. I don't know how you spell coagulate. I really don't know how to spell. Let me try and see if I can fresh my mind out. Coagulate. COLOIGATE. That's collegiate. Collegiate coagulate. Coagulate. L-I-A-T-E. I don't know. That look like it was right there. Yeah, there you go. Coagulate. It's an O. Jeez, I spelled that totally wrong. It's an O, then a G-U-L-A-I-T. Coagulation. Oh, it's a, well, you know what I'm saying. Coagulation this is what I'm saying. So through the air, if you think about, like, for example, let's see. What is this about? It's kind of cool. I like the way it look. But, okay. So, okay, let's look at it. Let's talk about it. I don't know. You probably don't know either. But anyway, if tissue is a factor, which it is because we all have skin, and contact activation, which is the damage, that makes sense. So, when you damage something that has life, it's damage to its what? Surface, like it says. And then it trickles down. It goes backwards because it's no longer in time. And by the time it goes backwards, as you can see, the support of it, look at the bottom of the screen, at the bottom of it, is what? Something that's active. Something supports it actively or continuously, as in C, which is protein. And once it's activated, it pushes it back up, and then look at that arrow. It pushes it backwards through the right form of time. Clockwise, right? Look how the arrow even moves clockwise. That's crazy. See that red dotted line to the left? It moves up and then it goes clockwise. So by the time it goes clockwise, it meets its X, which is what? A female chromosome. If that's what they say it is. On here, it's probably told something different. But anyway, by the time it reaches it, it goes back to X alpha. It means it could turn into something, but first it reports to alpha. In the middle, that's X alpha. Then what is the alpha? The alpha will have to define what's the topic. See what I'm saying? The tissue is the topic, or the tissue is the factor. So by the time it becomes a factor, it balances itself out, which will probably be what I tell you first, alphabetically, right? Look at that line in the middle, right in the middle of this thing. It's to the left of it, it's a P right there, right? And to the right of it, it's a T right there. So the P would be prothrombin, and to the right of it is thrombin. I guess that's how you enunciate it. Common pathways. The pathway to what? To a form of life. So I don't know how the heck I'm figuring this all out. I be doing this stuff weird, like I don't know what. So it's a pathway. This is how life probably recoagulates when it's through the air. So then you see the thrombin, which would be the tissue factor, the skin, once it's down in the ground, it connects with the protein C, which is what I said comes up and actually supports life clockwise through time. So the weapon is actually what you see to the far right in red letters. It look like this one just being read out to me like, I don't know what the heck this is about. Spooky. Made me look around my room sometime. To the far right, it's called antithrombin, meaning, or you can say anti something, you know what I'm saying? Not to compare with religion, but they say what? The Antichrist, it pushes down what? The X chromosomes. So apparently these abortions are antithrombins, meaning it's a tissue factor. It's something that's affecting the pathways. It's not common. It's not a part of a common pathway. So when you look at what it does, it pushes down the throma to the far left at the bottom. It pushes down the thrombomodulin. And when you see that, it's strange because if it pushes that down, it connects to the protein C, which is supposed to keep active. So it's trying to destroy protein C. So what would protein C be? That's what I need to find out, because that's important. That's cool, man. I like stuff like that. Protein, I can't even spell protein C, and I just looked at it. PROTIENCOIEN. EIN. Protein C. Shut up. So then protein C is also known as something that's dealing with coagulation. Let me see what images are protein C. Let's see. Any pictures of any substances that's protein C? Anything. Ew. Sorry. Dang. Oh, that's sad. Man, I felt bad I said sorry and ill like that. My bad. Jeez. I don't even want to look at that right now. I don't know. I just said, man. Okay. Protein C. Protein C. Okay, quote. I ain't gonna read all this quote. I'm gonna unquote right quick. I ain't gonna read all this quote right here. I'm gonna just read it a little bit. Quote, protein C is a vitamin K dependent glycoprotein that is synthesized in the liver, unquote. So the liver is a form of life, or if you want to word it as a form of a word, liver, life, to live. So your liver is where the life comes back through. So now you just start with liver and stuff like that. God forgive me for them people for thinking all bad about that picture and stuff. Oh, that's sad. A large, okay, I know what a liver is. Okay, what does a liver do? Of course, it filters blood. So basically, the woman's liver is what's filtering the blood to basically help bring it back so it can reproduce for the kid. Also, a baby can come out. So it's just about keeping a liver healthy more than anything. So that's really where you should start. All right, so garlic, there you go. That's one of the best things for women to use, and grapefruit juice. If any woman has any problem, start with garlic and grapefruit juice. So that's it. Garlic keeps the vampires away. See what I'm saying? Which is a problem with the blood. The garlic, it helps against vampirism. Those who want women weaker because they can't acquire their fruit, they can't nourish their fruit, or they don't receive proper nourishment from their fruit, but they look at their nourishment as another man, what nourishes them. So they want to take the garlic away because they like, this stinks. I want something better. And then it's a form of nourishment. So that's what you think about. That's sad. That picture was so sad. Man, that's why I shouldn't look at images when it gets that bad, because it messes me. It messes with me. I don't like looking at stuff like that. All right, so I'm gonna just try to end this video on a note that's like something we can all look at as understanding, that we should believe and pray for one another and ask for God to help you and everybody and forgive you for your sins and take it seriously, because it's serious, real serious. What else? What else I'm supposed to say? I don't know. I just stop it right here, I guess. Y'all could probably be like, man, why you stop like that, man? Made me feel bad. I don't know what to say. But all I'm saying is the third war could be cleared. The second war is getting cleared. Right now, the third war will probably be a relationship with outside forces. Meaning, since they're trying to unite all the nations, and it takes three things to unite one. 3 turns to 1, because pi is 3, 1, then 4, because it adds that 1. It usually keeps adding the 1. So it's like the First World War, the Second World War, then the third one creates the 3, which took from 1, meaning an outside source. So all this outside technology, outer space and all that stuff, that's where it can start once they start doing more of that. And then once the king's in power, the kings will be like, hey, I'm in charge. What are y'all doing up there? Then they gonna feel like they don't supposed to tell nobody, and then it just gets worse to where they're like, oh, you gonna tell me? Because we putting our life out there. We're putting our women, those children out there, and they want to know what's going on. So then it gets to the point of privacy issues, and then from there, as long as you can just stay out of people's privacy and stuff like that, it'll help maintain peacefulness. So really, it'll more to be like an IT war. It's gonna probably be like a technological war, like with the phones cutting off, and even the Bible talks about, like there could be darkness, I think, or something like that. Not darkness from like the beginning of time darkness, but like, people having problems with stuff. They can't use certain things. They ain't gonna be working. You see them end of time movies, like the end of days movies and stuff, are Left Behind, where like powers be going on and stuff. But that's a sign of a technological war, and people might not be here because they'll be on other planets. So if they say you get left behind, you just wouldn't know that they'll be, like you say, raptured up into the sky, pulled up basically off their technology that's on the earth, and whilst other people still here like, what the heck? How come the electric cutting off? And because there ain't nobody here to do that kind of work. They leaving to go work other places, but it's still a spiritual level too. So that's why it says people will perish from lack of knowledge for the things they don't know how to do. It takes a certain amount of time for somebody to come and do that, especially if they need people on a whole nother planet or doing something somewhere else. It kind of makes it difficult. So that's when the king can appoint. That's when the king will have been appointed over the people. And what happens is he'll probably be like, hey, go do this, go fight here. And the only reason he wants you to go fight there is so he can put some plumbing over there. Or he can get some form of wealth over there or something like that. Those would be the only reasons that the Third World War be. That's why I said earlier, I was like, it'll only be based off of what he wants. And that's when you get to the Bible verse that says, what shall a man profit if he gain the world and lose his soul? So if we leaving off the planet, or you can say being literally raptured up, then if you're still here, it's like a form of being left behind, but not left behind to where you can't be saved, but left behind because you're going to be doing everything he wants you to do just because he's in power. So that's why it's kind of like good that there was a war or any kind of war in the past, because that war protects us for how many years. If it's a 100-year process, as you see, it just paid off. So that's a form of a receipt saying, okay, this war was just paid off. So it took 100 years. So the other one has to get paid off now. So you have until 2039 to do whatever you have to do, whether you file in bankruptcy, whether you have repossessions, whether you defaulting on loans. You have until 2039 to do all that stuff. So that's how many years I said. Look, 2039, 2016. I'm gonna do that one more time. 2039 minus 2016. That's 23 years. So everybody has the capability to default within 23 years. So with that being said, that's all a part of the war. So then that's when the religion comes around in 23 years from now, 2039. That's when it's like, okay, look, people are getting off this planet. You going to stay here or you going to leave? What you going to do? Well, if you stay, that's a form of how would the air get from one place to the next? Are they going to, it said the dead will rise first. So see, that's what you have to pay attention. Because if the dead rise first, that means whatever air is there is already there. So as soon as you leave or you get raptured up, if it's a form of coagulation all again, you're going to coagulate with the same pace. This one dude told me this. I heard this. He said this a few days ago. He said something similar to the extent of it's all the same water, even from back in the day. From the dinosaurs, the same water is just being filtered. It goes up. Water don't come from outer space. So if all that stuff is put together, it's like saying it's going to still meet in the air and we all coagulate again. And that's why I just showed y'all that picture of this. This is exactly what I think happens. We coagulate. Coagulation. Remember I said ION is the intel or something that ends but still has a form of thanks to it. Or you can say in military terms, India, Oscar, November. India is the form of knowledge, the technology that is to the far east but settles on the land, meaning like a form of a desert. Sand can't be measured. And then the ending is the O. And then the thanks is what we are. So it's like I is over there in Asia, India. O, that's the Middle East. Or you can say the heirs, the Omegas. And then the thanks is us, United States, November, Thanksgiving, stuff like that. So that's how that works. But anyway, I think this right here is a picture of kind of like what happens to the blood in the air when it's translated from one point to the next. It'll be like this. The contact activation, where it says intrinsic pathway, will be air. Because intrinsic, I think intrinsic means something that goes in and comes out. So I want to look. Intrinsic. I think I'm going to spell this right. I'm getting frustrated at my spelling. I-N-T-R-I-S. I-N-T. Oops, that's right there. It's N. I-N-S. It's in and out, I think intrinsic means. So, let's see. What's intrinsic? Access, that says us born naturally. Oh, belonging naturally. I can't even read straight. Essentially. So, yeah. So, I would think it's essential. Okay, so I wish I had that in a sentence. Remember I just said loyal? It says on this sentence right here, and quote, an intrinsic quality of dogs is that they are loyal. So it's a form of natural things. Well, we naturally breathe. So it's something that's naturally done. That's why I was saying that I think that this one is breath, like the air. And then the tissue is the water. We're 70% water, from what they say. And then, what is it? So it's air, water, and what was the other one I said? Daggone. Air, water, and life. I think I said life. I don't know. But the life would be the literal self of what it is, coagulation. Coagulation, to come together, is life. So life is mostly through active protein C, which will be what uplifts us. As you see to the far left, you see that the active protein C is protein that uplifts the air. So when we have life breathing to us from a damaged surface, not saying from like disrespecting God or nothing, but from a damaged surface being breathed down from the left, by the time it balances out, it's still pushed back up from active protein C. Like a baby lays on its back, it's active. We give it protein, that's milk. Then it has a form of a C, that's his liver. So the liver filters out what we give them through the milk. So the milk must have protein in it, but it doesn't have any C in it, like vitamin C. I don't think it does. Let me see. I'm going to look and see if milk has vitamin C. Because I know it has vitamin D. That's common. And even if it has vitamin D, that comes after C. See what I'm saying? That's that alphabetical thing again. So I just want to see if it has vitamin C on here. Okay, like for example, this statement right here, somebody said, quote, "Isn't vitamin C already in milk?" But check it out. Alright, so it says, I guess I have to quote this because somebody else said it. Quote, "Raw milk already has a small amount of vitamin C in it, if I'm correct." Unquote. And anyway, it says protein in milk could help that vitamin C promote collagen. So somebody's going to say something on it. Let's see. Ingesting the amount of milk, grams simultaneously, the milk, so I think it's a problem. He ain't saying nothing about vitamin C, so I ain't going to read all that. There's a picture. Look at the screen shaking. It's like it's like stop trying to look past it. Look at it. There you go, man. It was all. You ever see a screen do that? It's like it won't even let me go to the next jump. That's crazy. That's crazy, yeah. Oh, and that pushed me fresh in the mood. That's crazy. What is that about? Nose stuffed up. Okay, let me go ahead and see what this is about. So let's see. I had to go spit right quick. Excuse me. Alright, so this one's something that has something on it that could say how much vitamin C might be in milk. So according to the USDA, 3.7 fat milk has 15 milligrams per liter vitamin C. Vitamin C is required to maintain blood vessels, cartilage, stuff like that. Unlike animals, humans can't make that. Comes in their diet. Good source of diet. Alright. So does have vitamin C in it. Okay. So anyway, the vitamin C is probably filtered out of the milk or from whatever you get a child, and then that's what makes that child stronger and their blood work better. So using vitamin C and garlic. The women need garlic, the men need vitamin C. What comes first, C or G? C, even though it's a vitamin. So you can say garlic, vitamin C comes before garlic. So the woman take garlic and the men take vitamin C. And that's how you make the men stronger with their immune system and the woman stronger with her immune system. So that's that. And hopefully I see y'all in heaven and y'all breath don't smell like garlic. Ugh.